Hey, so in this video, I actually want to talk about why do scientists actually know so much. So if you don't know me, I'm Professor Dave Maslock. I'm Associate Professor of Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I want to pay the favor forward and help you out. So first of all, we actually don't know that much. We don't know a lot of things outside of the domain of what we are interested in. So if you want to ask us about, I study things about organizations and how people actually, how does innovation work within organizations. I study things about technology. I study, I broadly sort of study all these sort of things, which makes, when I'm interested in innovation, for example, I might sort of wander in study things about, how science actually works and stuff like that. There's a whole field of people that study this, the sociology of science. And what you need to know is that outside of those sort of areas of, for me, strategy, organizational theory, innovation, all those kind of things that are sort of loosely tied together, anything that's outside of that domain, I don't really know that much. So ask me to change the oil in my car. Oh boy. It's not going to happen, right? So we don't know as much as you think we know. And actually what's happening there is we actually don't know a lot even within our domain. So you might think that we are very knowledgeable. I've read a lot in my domain. But there's lots more people that are more smarter than I am. And what this actually works is the way that scientists actually know so much is actually the system of science itself. That's why it's sort of a really cool thing, is that, I might have sort of a half-baked idea and I work on this half-baked idea, but then I send it away and get feedback from other people. I might spend some time on it and think about this particular thing. And then once they've got some feedback, they're going to tear it apart. They're going to say that it's terrible, it doesn't work, whatever that idea is, it's totally flawed, and they're going to give it back to me. And then I'm going to have some ideas to carry forward with this thing. It's just like exactly if you go to a teacher and you get to ask for feedback on an assignment that you have, you're going to get some feedback on it, and they're probably going to tear it to pieces. That's really what it is. That's what's going on. So we don't know a lot. And what we end up doing is, so people are going to tear it to pieces. I'm going to get it back, and then I've got to go and actually investigate those sort of things that they've told me to investigate. And then I go and investigate those things, and then I do it again. And then it gets sent off to a bunch of other smart people. And those bunch of other smart people go, this is terrible. And they give me some feedback on it. And they say, you just think of this. And then I got to go and do that. So you can see that I actually don't know a lot. And it's really this sort of exploration process where I'm going and borrowing from what other people say and tell me to sort of investigate. So it's really a community affair. So by the time you've actually worked on a paper, and it's a sufficiently exciting and interesting paper, there might be 100 other scientists that gave you feedback on this thing from various stages, going to conferences, getting feedback on the paper itself, all these different things. There's a lot of people that are going to give you insight in terms of what you're actually working on. So not any one scientist doesn't work on just one thing. It's this community effort, and you have to sort of imagine that it is very much a community effort. So the only thing that we do is we ask, the sort of unique thing is we just ask questions about things. So, we just ask very simple questions about how things work, and then we got to go out and solve that, sort of write something about it, and then get feedback from other people. And as you do that, as you go through that process of getting feedback and asking more questions and other people asking you questions, you kind of evolve and the idea gets a little bit better and makes a little bit more sense as you're doing this. So do we know a lot about specific things at a moment in time where we are actually exploring this particular domain? Yeah, we probably do know a lot. I'm probably the most state-of-the-art at that moment in time. But I forget all that stuff too, right? Like I forget. Other scientists forget. We always forget. And what we do is we sort of use that record, that sort of story that you're building in the paper, the idea that you're building, to sort of advance the knowledge that you actually have. And you're kind of like, Spider-Man, as you're sort of moving from building to building. You're sort of grabbing on to one building and then leveraging it. So if you imagine a building as an idea, and you're sort of swinging from building to building, and you're swinging from ideas to ideas until you actually come across something that's very cool. Now, I've been doing this for about 20 years now, in various sort of stages of research and being a researcher. We do develop what is called sorry, something fell. But we do develop something called tacit knowledge. Just like if you were a carpenter, you would get tacit knowledge too in that domain if you've done it for a long time. This is kind of the knowledge that's not codified. So codified knowledge, it's actually a cool story. Polanyi, back in the 1960s, was trying to figure out how do physicists know so much or can solve things. And what he identified was that that physicists can't codify, can't write down everything that they know. They actually have some sort of tacit or implicit knowledge that is you can't transform, you can't turn into, you can't explain where that comes from. And so we have actually a lot of tacit knowledge, just like a good carpenter that's been doing something for 20 years, or somebody that's a good mechanic that's been doing something for 50 years. They'll be able to walk in, they'll say, let's just do this. This is what I've seen this before, and this makes a lot of sense to do this. And that's what we do too. After you've been doing it for a long time, you do develop a lot of sort of tacit understanding of how things actually work and come together. And so it's hard to explain how we actually know so much, because it's just sort of part of who we are, right? It's kind of a weird thing. And as you sort of go in the career, you sort of develop more of those things. And so if you actually talk to somebody that's been in the career a long, long time, much longer than I am, I'm kind of like medium, medium cooked. But people that have been in the career for a long time, 40 years, man, they've got really sharp ideas. It is incredible how quickly they can put things together, and it all makes sense once they do that. And they do that because they have this tacit knowledge that is hard to gain other than through experience. So with that, hopefully that answers your question in terms of how do scientists actually know so much. There's lots of reasons, but a lot of it's just due to because it's this sort of community affair that we have. And we're getting all sorts of feedback from other people. So if you like this, give me one of these and do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.